Captain Lisa Jones stood at the viewport of the Earth Alliance vessel Star Voyager, watching the massive Galactic Hegemony station grow larger as they approached. After 50 years of sending signals into space, humans had finally received an answer. After another 20 years of back-and-forth communication, the Hegemony had granted them this meeting. Lisa felt the weight of 7 billion humans on her shoulders. "Nervous?" Jack Miller asked, joining her at the viewport. As communications officer, he had spent the last 3 months learning the basics of 6 different alien languages. "Just, thinking about how much is riding on this," Lisa said. She smoothed down her dark blue uniform for the 10th time that hour. First contact with an established galactic government. This could change everything for Earth. "If it helps, I'm pretty sure I'll mess up at least one alien greeting and accidentally declare war," Jack said with a smile. Lisa laughed. "Thanks for that image." Science Officer Olivia White approached them, tablet in hand. "Captain, I've finished analyzing the atmospheric composition of the meeting chamber. It's compatible with human biology, though the gravity will be about 80% of Earth normal, so we'll feel lighter." "That's good," Lisa said. "Less pressure on my knees while I'm bowing or kneeling or whatever their greeting customs require." Daniel Scott, the military strategist, joined the group with a frown on his face. "I still don't like that they're making us leave our weapons behind. Standard first contact protocol says," Lisa cut him off. "We're guests in their house, Daniel." "We play by their rules?" The Star Voyager slowed as it entered the docking procedure. Lisa took a deep breath and addressed her 3 officers. "Remember your training, follow my lead. And Jack, please don't accidentally declare war." "No promises," Jack said with a nervous smile. The docking process took 20 minutes. When it finished, the 4 humans gathered at the airlock. Lisa checked each of their uniforms, making sure everything was perfect. "Ready?" They nodded. "For humanity," Lisa said, and opened the door. They were met by a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin and large, dark eyes. It wore something like a robe with many small pockets. "Greetings, humans," the alien said in nearly perfect English. "I am Vexler, 3rd assistant to the council greeter. I will escort you to the meeting chamber." Lisa had been prepared to try using one of the translation devices they had brought, but it seemed unnecessary. "Thank you, Vexler. We are honored by your welcome." They followed the alien through corridors filled with strange smells and sounds. Other aliens passed by, some walking, others floating, a few moving on multiple legs. Lisa noticed how they all stopped to stare at the humans. "They've never seen humans before," Olivia whispered. "We're probably the first they've encountered in person." "I'm counting at least 12 different species," Daniel added quietly. "All seem to have different biological bases. Some carbon, some silicon, that one might be sulfur-based." Jack was busy taking everything in, his eyes wide with wonder. "The translator is picking up at least 20 different languages being spoken around us." Vexler led them to a large door made of something that looked like metal, but rippled like water. "The council awaits. When the door opens, proceed to the center circle and wait until addressed." The door dissolved in front of them, revealing a massive circular room. Tiered seating rows all around, filled with hundreds of aliens of different shapes and sizes. In the center was a raised platform with a glowing circle on it. "Showtime," Lisa whispered, and led her team forward. They stood in the circle, which lit up brighter when they entered it. A deep humming filled the room, and then silence fell. A massive alien with red-orange skin and multiple limbs rose from the highest tier. When it spoke, its voice boomed through the chamber. "I am Supreme Chancellor Z. Cathar of the Galactic Hegemony. We acknowledge the presence of the species known as humans, represented by the vessel Star Voyager." Lisa stepped forward. "Supreme Chancellor, I am Captain Lisa Jones of the Earth Alliance. We come in peace and friendship, hoping to establish diplomatic relations with the Galactic Hegemony." ZKThar's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. "Your request for diplomatic relations has been considered and rejected," Lisa froze. That wasn't what they had expected at all. "Furthermore," ZKThar continued, The galactic hegemony formally declares a state of war against the species known as humans, effective after a grace period of one standard rotation. Murmurs and clicks and whistles erupted from the gathered aliens. Lisa felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "Chancellor, there must be some mistake," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "We've done nothing to warrant a declaration of war. You have expanded into protected sectors without authorization," ZKthar said. "You have established colonies on worlds marked for preservation. You have harvested resources from systems already claimed. These are acts of aggression under hegemony law." Daniel stepped forward. "Chancellor, we had no knowledge of these laws or claims. We've only explored a small section of our own galaxy arm. Ignorance of law is not a defense." Another alien called out from a lower tier. "The beacons were clear." "What beacons?" Olivia asked. "The warning beacons placed at the boundaries of your solar system 5,000 years ago," ZKthar said. "They clearly state all laws and boundaries." Jack looked at Lisa. "Captain, we've never found any alien beacons in our solar system." Lisa addressed the council again. "Chancellor, I assure you, we have found no beacons or warnings. Our first indication that we were not alone in the universe was when we received your response to our signals 20 years ago. This caused a stir among the council members." Lisa noticed something strange. Many of the aliens seemed to be drooling. A clear liquid was seeping from glands near their mouths or equivalent organs. ZKthar conferred with several nearby council members, then addressed the humans again. "Your claim will be investigated. However, the declaration stands. You have one standard rotation to leave hegemony space before hostilities commence." With that, the circle beneath them dimmed, clearly a dismissal. Vexler reappeared at the door. "I will escort you back to your vessel." As they followed the alien back through the corridors, Lisa's mind raced. War with an entire galactic government? Earth wouldn't stand a chance. "They were salivating," Daniel whispered as they walked. "Did you notice? When they declared war, many of them started secreting some kind of fluid." Jack nodded. "I've been studying their cultural texts. Most hegemony species produce extra enzymes when stressed or excited. It's a fight-or-flight response like our adrenaline. But why would declaring war on us make them stressed?" Olivia asked. "Maybe they don't want war any more than we do," Lisa said slowly, an idea forming. "Maybe this is all a big misunderstanding." When they reached the Star Voyager, Lisa thanked Vexler for the escort. As the alien turned to leave, Lisa called out, "One more question, if I may?" Vexler paused. "Yes, Captain." "What is the hegemony protocol regarding invitations to share food?" Vexler's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Sharing food is ... sacred. An invitation to dine cannot be refused without grave insult." "Why do you ask?" Lisa smiled. "No reason. Thank you for your assistance." Once back aboard their ship, Lisa gathered her officers. "I have a plan. It's completely against protocol, probably crazy, and might get us court-martialed if it fails." "Sounds perfect," Jack said. "What are we doing?" Lisa grinned. "We're going to invite the people who just declared war on us to dinner." "You want to do what?" Chef Ryan Peters stared at Captain Lisa in disbelief. His white uniform was stained with various colors from the meal he had been preparing for the crew. "I want you to prepare a buffet for 30 different alien species," Lisa repeated calmly. "By tomorrow." Ryan ran his hand through his short brown hair. "Captain, with all due respect, that's impossible. I don't know what they eat. I don't know what might poison them. I don't even know if they eat solid food." Lisa nodded to Science Officer Olivia, who stepped forward with her tablet. "I've compiled basic biochemistry for the 27 species we observed on the Council. The remaining 3 are unknown, but there are patterns we can follow." Ryan took the tablet and scrolled through it, his eyes getting wider. "Some of these eat metals, some eat radiation. One appears to consume. Is that electrical current?" Just do your best," Lisa said. "Focus on the ones closest to our biology first. We have about 10 hours." After Ryan left, still muttering to himself, military strategist Daniel frowned at Lisa. "Captain, I understand your plan, but we should be preparing to leave. The hegemony gave us 24 hours before they attack. And we're using those hours to try diplomacy," Lisa said firmly. "Jack, have you sent the invitation?" Jack nodded. "Yes, Captain. I used the formal phrasing from their diplomatic texts. I invited the entire council to a pre-war cultural exchange ceremony aboard the Star Voyager." "And?" Lisa asked. "And they accepted," Jack said, sounding surprised himself. "All of them. They'll be here in 11 hours. Lisa smiled. "Good. Daniel, I need you to work with Security Chief Paul Brown. Make sure we appear welcoming, but still have defenses ready, just in case." "Yes, Captain," Daniel said, still looking doubtful. "Olivia, you're with me. We need to understand more about these stress secretions you noticed." The next hours passed in a blur of activity. The observation deck was transformed into a reception area. Tables were set up with name cards and different alien scripts. The kitchen became a science lab as Ryan and Olivia worked together testing combinations of Earth foods with synthetic versions of alien flavors. "I think I've got it," Olivia said, looking up from her microscope. "Their stress secretions are chemically similar to flavor enhancers humans use, like MSG, but much more complex." "So, they're basically walking flavor enhancers?" Ryan asked, stirring a pot of something that smelled like beef stew mixed with cinnamon. "Exactly. And different emotions produce different flavors. Stress, fear, excitement, happiness, each has a unique chemical signature that could enhance food in different ways." Ryan's eyes lit up. "So if we can get them to feel the right emotions, we might create the most delicious meal they've ever had," Olivia finished. Meanwhile, Communications Officer Jack worked with diplomatic specialist Amanda Green to arrange the observation deck. Amanda hung Earth decorations alongside symbols from various hegemony cultures. "The key is to make them feel welcome but also intrigued," Amanda explained as she placed small cards with cultural facts at each seat. "Humans are new. We're a curiosity. We can use that." Jack nodded as he programmed the translation devices. "I've set up the universal translators to handle all known hegemony languages. They should be able to understand everything we say." "Let's hope they like what they hear," Amanda said. Security Chief Paul was less enthusiastic about the dinner party. The tall, broad-shouldered man inspected every corner of the observation deck, placing hidden security measures. "I still think this is a bad idea," he told Daniel as they worked. "We're inviting the enemy onto our ship." "Captain's orders," Daniel reminded him. "And honestly, it might be our only chance. You've seen the scans of their fleet." "If they decide to attack, Earth wouldn't last a week," Paul sighed. "I know. But I'm keeping my sidearm nearby, just in case this dinner party turns into an actual war party." With 2 hours left before the aliens arrived, Lisa called everyone together for a final briefing in the conference room. "Everyone knows their roles," she said, looking around at her tired but determined crew. "Ryan and his team will handle the food. Amanda and Jack will manage translations and cultural exchange. Paul's team will handle security discreetly. Olivia will monitor the aliens' biochemical responses. And Daniel will assist me with the high-ranking officials." "What if they just came to spy on us before they attack?" Paul asked. "Then they'll get a good meal before they destroy us," Lisa said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "But I don't think that's their plan. From what Jack has translated of their cultural texts, the hegemony values ceremony and tradition. They wouldn't accept the dinner invitation just to break it." "Captain," Ryan said, "I should warn you that some of the food is ... experimental. I've created dishes that should appeal to their different biologies. But I've also tried to include Earth specialties." "Like what?" Lisa asked. "Well, I've made a 7-layer dip with corn chips. It seemed like a good way to demonstrate Earth culture communal food that everyone shares," Lisa smiled. "Perfect. That's exactly the kind of thing that might surprise." As the meeting ended, Lisa held Daniel back. "I need your honest assessment." "Do you think this will work?" Daniel thought for a moment. "I think it's a long shot. but it's a better shot than running away or trying to fight. And there's something about the way they declared war. It felt rehearsed, like they were following a script rather than actually wanting to fight us. That's what I thought too, Lisa said. Like they were doing what was expected rather than what they wanted. An hour later, Lisa stood in her dress uniform at the airlock, ready to welcome the first alien guests. Jack stood beside her with a translation device. For humanity, she whispered to herself as the airlock began to cycle. The door opened, revealing Supreme Chancellor ZK and 5 other high-ranking aliens, all dressed in what appeared to be formal military attire. They looked ready for a war council, not a dinner party. Lisa stepped forward with her most diplomatic smile. Supreme Chancellor, honored members of the Hegemony Council, welcome aboard the Star Voyager. We are honored by your acceptance of our invitation to share food and culture before our species part ways. Scatter's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. We have come as protocol demands lead us to this ... cultural exchange. Lisa nodded to Jack, who began guiding the first group toward the observation deck. As she prepared to welcome the next group, Lisa couldn't help but wonder if her crazy plan had any chance of success. The fate of humanity might depend on corn chips and dip. The observation deck of the Star Voyager had never looked so strange. 30 alien delegates stood in small groups, their bodies of different shapes and sizes, creating an odd landscape of colors and textures. Some floated, some crawled, others stood on multiple legs. They all seemed tense, with many secreting the clear fluid that Olivia had identified as stress enzymes. Captain Lisa moved among them, playing the role of host. Jack stayed close, helping with translations when the universal translators struggled with unusual concepts. Supreme Chancellor, Lisa said, approaching the massive red-orange form of ZK. Would you like to try some Earth refreshments while we wait for all delegates to arrive? Scatter's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. What manner of pre-war ritual is this? We expected strategic discussions, not ... socializing. On Earth, sharing food is an important part of diplomacy, Lisa explained. Even between future opponents. The alien made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. Curious. The hegemony does not share food with enemies. We're not enemies yet, Lisa reminded him with a smile. The war doesn't officially begin for another 13 hours. She guided ZK toward the buffet tables, where Chef Ryan stood proudly beside his creations. The tables were divided into sections, each marked with symbols indicating which species could safely consume the items. This is our chef, Ryan Peters, Lisa introduced. Ryan bowed slightly. Supreme Chancellor, I've prepared several Earth specialties that should be compatible with your biology. May I suggest starting with this? He pointed to a large bowl containing layers of beans, cheese, vegetables, and spices. Beside it sat a basket of triangular corn chips. What is this substance? Scather asked, multiple eyes focusing on the colorful layers. We call it 7-layer dip, Ryan explained. You take one of these chips like this. He demonstrated by picking up a corn chip. Then you scoop it through the layers like this. He dipped the chip into the bowl, collecting a small amount of each layer. Scather watched with all eyes focused intently. Ryan handed the loaded chip to the alien, who took it with a slender appendage. You eat it all together, Ryan added. ZK hesitated, then placed the chip into what appeared to be a mouth. The reaction was immediate. All of ZK eyes widened at once, and the fluid secretion from glands near his mouth increased. This is unexpected, the alien said after swallowing. The combination of textures and flavors. It creates a harmony I have not experienced before. Lisa noticed something interesting. The fluid ZK was secreting had changed color slightly. It was now tinged with purple. Would you like another? Ryan offered, holding out a fresh chip. I would, ZK said, then stopped and looked around at the other aliens. But first, I must understand something. This food vessel, you expect all beings to extract food from the same container? Yes, Lisa said. It's a communal dish everyone shares. Scatter's body tensed. In hegemony culture, sharing food vessels is reserved for blood relatives or sworn allies. It signifies a deep bond of trust. Lisa felt a moment of panic. Had she just made a terrible cultural mistake? But then she saw an opportunity. On Earth, we believe that sharing food helps create trust between strangers. It's how we begin to form bonds. ZK was silent for a long moment. Then, to Lisa's surprise, he picked up a chip and dipped it himself. Perhaps there is wisdom in your Earth customs. Across the room, other interactions were unfolding. Daniel had found himself in conversation with a group of aliens with metallic skin who were military strategists. They were comparing battle tactics from their different cultures. Humans have fought many wars among ourselves, Daniel explained. We've learned that sometimes the greatest victory comes without firing a shot. The aliens clicked their metal. Parts together in what might have been laughter. A strange concept. How can there be victory without combat? Through understanding your opponent so well that you can prevent conflict. Daniel said. Meanwhile, Olivia was discreetly scanning the aliens with a small device. She moved to Lisa's side and whispered, "Captain, something fascinating is happening. As they relax, their secretions are changing. They're producing different compounds now." Dangerous? Lisa asked quietly. No, actually, they're similar to bonding. Pheromones like what they produce among family groups. And the food tastes better with these new secretions, Lisa smiled. So the more comfortable they get, the better the food tastes, which makes them more comfortable. It's a positive feedback loop, Olivia finished. The observation deck doors opened, and Ensign Chris Taylor entered carrying a large container. Chris was young, just 22, and had only been on the Star Voyager for 3 months. He wasn't supposed to be at this diplomatic event. Lisa quickly moved to intercept him. Ensign, what are you doing here? Chris had a slightly unfocused look in his eyes. Captain, I heard about the party and brought something from my personal stash. He held up the container, which Lisa recognized as containing fermented fruit. Juice that Chris had been experimenting with in his quarters. Ensign, this is not a party. It's a diplomatic function, Lisa said firmly, but several aliens had already noticed the new arrival and moved closer, curious about the container. What is this liquid? Asked a tall, thin alien with glowing spots along its sides before Lisa could stop him. Chris grinned and said, "It's my special brew. Want to try some?" 20 minutes later, Lisa stood in amazement watching what her diplomatic dinner had become. Chris's special brew had turned out to be compatible with most of the aliens' biologies, and had a similar effect on them as alcohol had on humans. The atmosphere had completely transformed. In one corner, Chris was demonstrating what he called dance battles to a group of fascinated aliens. The insectoid Craolox delegates, with their multiple limbs and exceptional reflexes, had taken to breakdancing with surprising skill. Security Chief Paul approached Lisa, looking bewildered. Captain, the Draconian commander just challenged me to something called honor wrestling. Should I accept? Is it likely to cause an interstellar incident? Lisa asked. Paul shook his head. Actually, he seems to be in a good mood. He said it's how his people show respect. Then carefully accept, Lisa said, but don't hurt him. Lisa noticed Supreme Chancellor ZK watching the proceedings with what she hoped was amusement. She approached him again. Chancellor, would you like to join me somewhere quieter? Perhaps we could discuss the actual reasons for your declaration of war. ZK's eyes blinked in sequence. Yes, I find I am curious your species, Captain Lisa Jones. As they moved to a quieter corner of the deck, Lisa felt a small surge of hope. The aliens were relaxing. Connections were being made, and most importantly, no one was talking about war anymore. Perhaps humanity's place in the galaxy would be secured not by weapons or technology, but by corn chips and seven-layer GIP. In a quiet corner of the observation deck, Captain Lisa sat with Supreme Chancellor ZK. The large alien seemed more relaxed now, his multiple eyes blinking at a slower pace. The purple-tinged fluid he secreted had a pleasant smell like cinnamon and cloves. So, tell me, Chancellor, Lisa said, what is the real reason for declaring war on humanity? We both know it can't just be about some beacons we never found. ZK-Thar's body shifted, a movement Lisa now recognized as discomfort. You are direct? Captain, most species approach such topics with more ceremony. Humans value directness when time is short, Lisa replied. And we have less than 12 hours before your war begins. The alien was quiet for a moment. The truth is not simple. The Hegemony Council was concerned about your species. Concerned? About what? Your rapid advancement, ZK-Thar said. Most species take thousands of years to progress from simple tools to space travel. You did it in a few centuries. From your first powered flight to your first interstellar ship in less than 200 years. It is unprecedented. Lisa frowned. So you declared war because we learned quickly? We declared war because we were afraid, ZK-Thar admitted, his voice lower. The hegemony has existed for 50,000 years. We maintain order, we preserve balance. Then suddenly there are humans unpredictable, quick to adapt, spreading faster than any species we have encountered before. That doesn't sound like a reason for war, Lisa said. That sounds like a reason for alliance. Scather made a sound the translator couldn't interpret. There is more. We have observed your entertainment transmissions. Your species seems to delight in conflict and chaos. You create simulations of war for enjoyment. Lisa was confused for a moment, then understood. You mean our movies? Our games? Those aren't real, Chancellor. They're fiction. Fiction? ZK-Thar repeated the word as if it were new to him. Yes, stories we create to entertain ourselves. They aren't real events. ZK-Thar's eyes all widened. At once, you create art depicting events that never occurred? This is unusual. In hegemony cultures, all art depicts actual historical events or scientific facts. The concept of creating false narratives for entertainment is... He paused, searching for the right word. Disturbing, Lisa smiled. It's not disturbing. It's imagination. Humans use imaginary conflicts in stories as a substitute for real ones. We play out scenarios in fiction so we don't have to experience them in reality. The alien was silent for a long time. This requires further study. It changes our understanding of human behavior significantly. Across the room, other connections were forming. Security Chief Paul had indeed engaged in honor wrestling with the Draconian commander, a contest that seemed to involve more posing than actual combat. Now they sat together, comparing scars and telling stories of battles. This one came from a training accident, Paul explained, pointing to a mark on his arm. A plasma cutter malfunctioned during a repair exercise. The Draconian, whose name, translated roughly as Steel Fang, nodded with appreciation. Honorable, mine came from the right of first command. He pointed to a jagged mark across his metallic chest plate. Meanwhile, diplomatic specialist Amanda had found herself deep in conversation with the hegemony's chief diplomat, a small, floating being with tentacles that waved gently as it spoke. The challenge is always finding the right words, Amanda was saying. One mistranslated phrase can cause huge problems. Yes, the alien diplomat agreed, its tentacles waving excitedly. Just 3 cycles ago, I nearly caused a trade war. By using the wrong tense when addressing the Vexler Collective. Exactly. Languages aren't just about words, they're about culture, history, context. The alien moved closer to Amanda. You understand. Most species focus only on the words, not the meaning behind them. In the center of the room, Chef Ryan had become the star of the event. He stood surrounded by aliens of various species, all eagerly tasting his latest creations. This one combines earth wheat with synthesized flavors similar to your homeworld's main grain, he explained to a group of tall, plant-like aliens. I added a touch of honey, a sweet substance made by earth insects. The plant aliens consumed. The small bread pieces and their leaves vibrated with what seemed to be pleasure. Ryan beamed with pride. For years, he had been creating fusion cuisine, combining cooking styles from different earth cultures. Now he was doing the same thing. On a galactic scale, Science Officer Olivia moved through the crowd, still taking readings with her small device. She approached Lisa and ZK-Thar, checking her screen. Captain Chancellor, excuse the interruption, but I've made a fascinating discovery, she said. The chemical compounds being secreted by most delegates have completely changed from when they arrived. They're now producing substances associated with positive social bonding in their respective species. Is that significant? Lisa asked. Very, according to the cultural data Jack translated. These compounds are normally only produced among close social groups, family units, longtime allies, trusted friends. Never with new acquaintances, and certainly never with potential enemies. ZKFR shifted, his multiple eyes focusing on Olivia's device. Your officer is correct. This is unprecedented. The biological response cannot be faked or forced. It suggests a natural affinity between our species that contradicts all our predictions. Lisa saw an opening. Chancellor, given this new information, would the hegemony consider postponing the declaration of war? Perhaps we could establish a cultural exchange program instead to better understand each other? Before ZKthar could answer, Communications Officer Jack hurried over, looking excited. Captain Chancellor, I've been speaking with the Kreolox delegates. They've offered to help us locate the missing beacons. They believe they may have been destroyed or damaged during a meteor shower that passed through our solar system about 3,000 years ago. That would explain why we never found them, Lisa said. It would also remove the primary legal basis for the war declaration, ZKthar added. According to hegemony law, if warning beacons were not functional, expanding, species cannot be held responsible for violations they had no way of knowing about. Lisa felt a surge of hope. So the war could be avoided on legal grounds? Potentially, ZKthar said. But there would still be the matter of humanity's rapid expansion and unpredictable nature. Perhaps that's something we could discuss. During cultural exchanges, Lisa suggested, we could learn from your stability and experience. You could benefit from our adaptability and imagination. ZKthar was silent for a moment. Then, to Lisa's surprise, he reached for another corn chip and dipped it into the now nearly empty bowl of 7-layer dip. I find myself curious about what such an exchange might look like, the Chancellor said. And I must admit, I would regret never tasting this 7-layer dip again. Around the room, humans and aliens continued to mingle, share food, and learn about each other. The atmosphere had completely transformed from the tense beginning. No one was talking about war anymore. Instead, they were talking about food, about culture, about similarities and differences. They were finding common ground in the most unexpected places. Lisa looked around at her crew, at Ryan sharing recipes, at Paul comparing battle tactics, at Amanda discussing translation challenges, at Olivia excitedly gathering data, at Jack learning new languages, at Daniel building bridges with military leaders, at Chris teaching alien diplomats to dance. Maybe, just maybe, humanity's place in the galaxy would be secured not by running away or fighting back, but by something as simple as inviting their enemies to dinner. 3 days later, Captain Lisa Jones stood on the observation deck of the Star Voyager once again. This time, she wore her formal dress uniform, freshly pressed for the occasion. Beside her stood Supreme Chancellor ZKthar, whose multiple eyes blinked in a pattern that Lisa now recognized as contentment. Between them, on a small table, sat a document written in both English and the common language of the hegemony. It was titled The Human Hegemony Cooperation Treaty, though the crew had already started calling it the Snack Treaty in private conversations. Are we ready to proceed, Chancellor? Lisa asked. We are, Captain, ZKthar replied. His voice sounded different, now less formal, more relaxed. The Council has unanimously approved the treaty terms. Lisa nodded to Jack, who activated the ship's communication system. The ceremony was being broadcast to Earth and to all hegemony worlds. Billions of beings were watching as humans officially joined the galactic community not as enemies, but as allies. Citizens of Earth, members of the galactic hegemony, Lisa began, today marks a historic moment for both our peoples. What began as a misunderstanding has become an opportunity for growth and cooperation. ZKthar spoke next. The hegemony acknowledges that warning beacons placed in the Sol system were damaged by natural phenomena. We recognize that humans expanded beyond their home system without knowledge of galactic laws or boundaries. Therefore, the declaration of war has been officially withdrawn. A cheer went up from the Earth delegates who had arrived just hours earlier, summoned by urgent messages from the Star Voyager. They stood at the back of the room, still looking slightly dazed by how quickly events had changed. Lisa continued. In place of conflict, we have found common ground. Earth will provide cultural exchange programs, culinary expertise, and creative collaboration. She smiled slightly at that last part. The concept of fiction was still causing quite a stir among hegemony species. In return, ZKthar added, the hegemony offers technological assistance, star maps to aid safe expansion and protection from some of the more predatory species in unexplored regions. Together they signed the document. As they did, Chef Ryan stepped forward with a tray containing small cups of a bright blue liquid. As is human tradition, Ryan explained to the gathered aliens, we seal important agreements with a toast to shared drink to symbolize our new bond. He handed cups to Lisa, ZKthar, and all the other delegates. The liquid inside was a creation. Ryan had been working on for the past 2 days a blend of earth fruits and synthesized flavors from various alien worlds. To peace through understanding, Lisa said, raising her cup. To unexpected friendship, ZKthar added, mimicking the gesture. Everyone drank. The aliens' reactions were immediate. Eyes widened, tentacles waved, metallic parts vibrated. The blue liquid seemed to please all species, a culinary miracle Ryan had somehow achieved. After the ceremony, as delegates mingled and talked, Lisa found herself standing with her core team: Jack, Olivia, Daniel, Ryan, Amanda, Paul, and Chris. Well, she said, I think it's safe to say this isn't how any of us expected our first diplomatic mission to end. I still can't believe it worked, Paul admitted. A dinner party saved Earth? Ryan grinned. Not just any dinner party. My dinner party, they all laughed. The tension of the past few days was finally fading. What happens now, Captain? Olivia asked. Now? Now we become ambassadors instead of explorers, at least for a while. The treaty includes provisions for regular diplomatic dinners to be held on rotating worlds. Apparently, our little gathering has started quite a trend. I've already received requests from 17 different species for Earth recipes, Ryan said proudly. And 3 offers to write a cookbook. Jack looked up from his tablet. Captain, you should see the messages coming in from Earth. They're calling you a hero. The President wants to speak with you as soon as possible. Lisa shook her head. We all did this together. Make sure they know that. Across the room, Amanda was deep in conversation with a group of alien diplomats who were asking about Earth's cultural practices. No, we don't actually have a formal ritual for first meals with enemies, she was explaining. Captain Jones improvised that part. Daniel stood with several hegemony military officers discussing the terms of the protection agreement. Yes, we understand there are species even the hegemony avoids. We appreciate the warning about the void hunters. Chris, who had been promoted from ensign to lieutenant for his unconventional contribution to diplomacy, though Lisa had also given him a stern talking to about bringing unauthorized beverages to official functions, was teaching a group of fascinated aliens about Earth music. 1 year later, Lisa, now Admiral Lisa, stood in the grand opening of Peacetime, the first human hegemony fusion restaurant on Earth's lunar colony. Chef Ryan, now an interstellar celebrity, moved through the crowded room greeting guests from 24 different worlds. The restaurant's design reflected its unique purpose: Earth decorations alongside hegemony symbols, dining areas modified to accommodate various alien physiologies, and a central buffet table where all species could gather. Admiral, Ryan called out, spotting Lisa. Come meet my new apprentices. Lisa made her way through the crowd to where Ryan stood with 3 aliens of different species. Each wore a modified chef's uniform with both Earth and hegemony insignia. They've been studying Earth cuisine for 6 months, Ryan explained proudly. Tonight they're debuting our signature dish. He gestured to a large serving platter in the center of the main table. On it sat an elaborate version of the 7-layered dip that had started it all, surrounded by multicolored corn chips. "We're calling it peacetime nachos with diplomatic immunity dip," Ryan said with a grin. "The chips are made from earth corn plus grains from 7 hegemony worlds," Lisa laughed. "It looks delicious." She looked around the crowded restaurant. Humans and aliens sat together, sharing food and stories. In one corner, a human-alien musical group played a fusion of earth jazz and Creolox harmonics. Near the bar, business deals were being discussed between Earth entrepreneurs and hegemony traders, Chancellor ZK, who had become a good friend over the past year, approached Lisa with a cup of blue liquid Ryan's famous Unity brew that had become a symbol of human hegemony relations. "Admiral," he greeted her, "I was just telling the Earth ambassador about our plans to include humans on the Hegemony High Council." "That's happening already?" Lisa asked, surprised. "I thought it would take years." "Your species continues to surprise us with your adaptability," ZK said. "And your food." "Mostly your food," they both laughed. Lisa raised her glass in a toast. "To snacks and diplomacy," she said. "To the most unexpected allies in hegemony history," ZK replied. As they looked out at humans and aliens enjoying a meal together, Lisa thought about how strange the universe was. Other species had faster ships, more advanced weapons, and longer histories, but only humans had thought to bring snacks to a war declaration. Sometimes, the simplest solutions were the most powerful.